Welcome to today's Explainer. We are about to dive into one of the absolute most vital, yet, somehow frequently overlooked phases of business success. We're going on a bit of a journey today, taking things from the high-altitude, abstract world of strategic planning straight down to the concrete, boots-on-the-ground reality of execution. Basically, we're going to look at the sheer mechanics of how organizations actually get things done.
I want you to think about this question for just a second. What good is a treasure map if you don't have the tools to dig? It's honestly the perfect metaphor for business strategy. Think about it. A strategic plan is essentially a map, right? It points you toward competitive advantage, towards profitability. But without a vehicle to actually get you there and the fuel to power that vehicle, well, the map is absolutely useless. So today, we're going to look at exactly how companies build that vehicle and, crucially, how they fuel it.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. 1. The strategy implementation gap. 2. Steps to execute strategy. 3. The resource allocation engine. 4. Navigating resource scarcity. And 5. Walmart's agile resource shift.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the strategy implementation gap.
It is so easy to get caught up in the excitement of brainstorming a grand strategy, but we have to contrast that with the heavy lifting required to actually implement it. There is a massive, gaping difference between the two. Managing this gap is easily the most demanding, time-consuming part of the entire strategic management process. Formulating a plan, that's really just a statement of intent. If you don't align your internal activities to cross that bridge, your strategy is just going to fall right into the gap.
Moving right along to Section 2, steps to execute strategy.
So how do we actually build the vehicle to cross that gap? Well, the sources lay out 4 overarching phases. Step 1 is communication. You've got to translate that high-level vision into clear daily objectives. Step 2 is engaging your team. Step 3 is executing the plan by literally putting tactics into play. And Step 4 is staying agile. But, and this is a huge but, these steps are really just the engine block. They are completely useless without the fuel to run them.
You can have all of those steps perfectly planned out, and they won't move an inch without that fuel. You absolutely need resource allocation. The literature defines this as the process of assigning and managing assets to meet a company's strategic planning objectives. It is the ultimate antidote to strategic failure. Really, it's just the act of providing the actual stuff required to bring a strategy to life.
Let's get into Section 3, the resource allocation engine.
So what exactly are we allocating when we move from the steps to the stuff? We're allocating 5 key things. 1. Physical resources, like buildings and equipment. 2. Financial capital. 3. Human resources, meaning the raw talent and skill of your team. 4. Technological systems. And 5. Intellectual resources, like patents. These 5 categories combined are literally the lifeblood of any new initiative. Now, allocating this stuff is kind of like watering a houseplant. It requires a super delicate balance. If you starve a project of capital or talent, obviously it withers and progress just grinds to a halt. But on the flip side, blindly drowning a strategy in cash is just as bad. It creates massive waste and actually reduces your financial performance. Finding that perfect balance dictates your firm's overall efficiency and determines whether your daily strategy is actually going to work.
Which brings us to Section 4, navigating resource scarcity.
Because let's be real, handing out these resources is rarely a neat and tidy math equation. Resources are almost always scarce. Broadly speaking, companies decide who gets what in 2 main ways. You've got the top-down approach, where the CEO and the board basically cascade resources downward based on a big picture, bird's-eye view. And conversely, in a bottom-up approach, individual managers are out there actively bidding for funds upward, based on what they need day-to-day. In reality, most organizations use a pretty messy mix of both.
And what is really fascinating here is the human element. The allocation of funds is frequently guided more by raw corporate politics than by any explicit company goals. Seriously, a powerful department head might leverage their political weight to secure way more than their fair share of the budget. Or you might have a strong-willed CEO distributing resources based on personal preferences and unwritten goals. It's a highly dynamic, politically charged process.
Okay, Section 5, Walmart's agile resource shift. To really bring this all together, let's look at an absolute masterclass in agile resource allocation. Think back to January 2020. As COVID-19 began appearing in the US, this wave of unprecedented demand met a sudden, intense global crisis. Walmart reacted incredibly fast. First, they implemented CDC guidelines, instantly directing physical and financial resources toward deep cleaning to keep people safe. But they didn't just play defense. They proactively reallocated massive resources to strengthen their supply chain and meet that explosive demand head-on.
They brilliantly shifted their technological and physical resources to meet their customers exactly where they were, which was online and on their phones. Because they made that fast, agile pivot to their digital infrastructure, Walmart saw a staggering 460% spike in average daily downloads for their grocery app by April 2020. No way a rigid plan achieves that.
And this completely drove their strategic vehicle forward during a highly volatile time. By May 2021, their U.S. comparable sales had increased by 6%, and their operating income saw a robust jump of 26.8%. It completely proves that true agility isn't just about drawing up a fast plan. It's about how fast you can physically move your resources to actually execute it.
So that brings us to the end of our journey today. But before we go, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative thought to chew on regarding your own workplace. Take a hard look at where the money, the time, and the talent are actually going. Does your organization's actual budget align with its grand strategy? Or is your company just spending all of its time drawing beautiful treasure maps in the boardroom without ever actually handing out the shovels? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. See you next time.